Are you unknowingly slowing down your improvement of trail riding skills even though you're trying to progress? Here are 5 common ways that trail riders try to improve their skills but are actually holding them back from safely and confidently riding faster. Number 5 is trying to improve your technique but not knowing what's right or what's wrong. I was just teaching a lady that's fairly new to trail riding, and she was frustrated because last year when she went trail riding, she was falling like every 2 minutes and didn't know how to fix it, so she just kept getting back up and trying harder to stay in control or just slowing down to stop falling. This can be just trying to handle the full weight of the bike. Maybe you're holding on tight, squeezing the bars or squeezing with your knees and just riding tense because you're trying to keep the bike upright without falling every couple minutes. Or if you're just riding more, trying to get more seat time to get better, because seat time is the best teacher, right? But even if you keep riding, you still don't really feel any more confident than you did a few months ago. Well, this isn't the best way because you're more likely to form bad riding habits that are hard to unlearn. It's like my late grandpa that was a 2-footed driver. So when he was at a stoplight and it turned green, he'd start hitting the gas when his left foot was still on the brake. But even if you told him to stop holding on to the brake, he might try it once, but then he's just going to go back to what he's used to because he'd been doing it for so many decades. And number 2 way that people try to improve their trail riding is by upgrading to a better or faster enduro or race bike. You might have done this or want to do this because you want more power to be able to wheelie over rocks or logs or get up steep hills with less effort because it has more power. And maybe you want better suspension too, so you don't get bounced around on the trail as much. This isn't going to automatically improve your trail riding skills, because if you just add more power, you're more likely to have jerky throttle syndrome, where it's hard to manage the throttle when you're in tight sections or when you're standing up or trying to turn and control the throttle, but it starts to get jerky and snappy and can cause whiskey throttle, which can ride you right into a tree and get hurt. And if you want more suspension but you're not using what you already have, so if you're not using the full travel already, then having more suspension isn't going to help, especially if you have short legs like me, because more suspension means a taller bike, which means it's harder to reach the ground. And while you shouldn't be touching the ground when you're riding, when you come to a stop, it can be intimidating, especially when the ground is uneven and you can't reach it, so you end up tipping over. Number 3 way that people try to improve is by asking their buddies or faster riders for advice. You might be doing this because, well, they're faster than you, so they should know how they do it, right? Well, if you've ever asked multiple riders what they do to ride faster, you might be getting conflicting answers, such as where to sit or stand on the bike while riding through sand or going up a hill. And when you get conflicting answers, it's hard to know what's right or what's wrong unless you try it. And if you try the wrong one, well, you might end up having an accident. And if you do ask them, they might give you too much advice. And when you focus on too many things at one time and you haven't built up that muscle memory, it forces you to think about it. And when you have to think about what you're doing with your body, whether it's the throttle, the clutch, shifting, standing in the right position, it's a lot harder to stay smooth on the trail, especially when you're riding up a hill or riding through rocks or logs or doing tight turns, because sections and obstacles come up at you so fast unless you're going at crawl speed. So if you're coming up to a tight turn and you realize you need to slow down quickly, and you have to remember, oh yeah, I have to lightly press in the brake, and then as the weight goes forward, I can slowly pull in the brake more. But if you have to think about it, it's already too late, and you're probably going to overshoot that corner or end up stabbing at the brake and sliding out. And sometimes the best riders do not always make the best coaches. Number 4 way is not doing anything different. Like if you're just hoping that you're going to get better as you ride, you get more seat time. Maybe you've been riding for months or even a few years and noticed, well, I've been riding for a while, but I don't really feel any smoother or more confident, and I still fall just as much as I did last year. For example, if you've formed a bad riding habit when riding around flat corners, you're always going to be held back from being able to ride faster because your front end is going to feel like it's washing out unless you fix and correct the mistake that you're making. Because sometimes the best way to improve is by identifying and fixing the mistakes that you're making. So how do you expect to change if you're not changing what you're doing? Number 5 way that people try to improve their trail riding skills is by trying to do what the pros or expert teach on YouTube videos. And why not? They're pros, so they obviously know what they're doing. So you're thinking, well, if I can do that, I'll definitely be faster, right? The problem is, a lot of the times what they're doing, they make it look so easy because they've been doing it for years or decades. And when you go out and try and do that same technique on the trail, you can't expect to be able to do that same thing the same day. It takes time, it takes proper technique, it takes forming positive riding habits so that you have the muscle memory to do it without even thinking about it. Which one of these 5 sounds most like you? 1, you're not sure what you're doing right or wrong. 2, trying to upgrade to a better, faster bike to improve. 3, asking your riding buddies for advice. 4, not doing anything different. Or 5, trying to do what the pros do when you go to the trails next. Let me know in the comments below.